Welcome to the Steering Change Podcast, navigating through the commercial transportation industry in Alberta and beyond. Powered by the Alberta Motor Transport Association. Here's your host, Josh Hannaberry.
Friends in the industry. I'm your host, Josh Hannaberry, and I'm super excited to have with me today Michelle Spacil, who's joining for our very first episode on the Steering Change Podcast. Michelle, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Super excited. It is cool. I won't lie. I'm jacked up for sure. So
this is industry changing. So I'm super excited to be here today to talk to you.
Totally agreed. So to start us off, why don't you kind of touch on who is Michelle and what's your role at the AMTA?
Absolutely. My name is Michelle, and I am the Director of Member Services. I have been part of the AMTA family for 9 years. Just celebrated that workversary on December 1st. And I started in this industry with very little transportation experience. And I have been able to very excitingly navigate through different positions within the AMTA and have most recently taken on this director role. And part of member services also includes a few different areas, which is super exciting. So growing the team, working with our MarCom group, which is our marketing and communications, a little bit of our member solutions team, our workplace support services team, as well as our compliance and regulatory affairs. So it's a big group, but we all combined are really working towards providing those relationships to our industry.
Love it. Absolutely love it. The speaking and being like Michelle is my boss, so I'll say that. So everything that I say, it's so I get a raise at the end of the year. Just kidding. The something I really admire, being in the workforce for quite some time, and just with phenomenal people on our team, but Michelle really does foster an environment where we joke about the trust tree, but it is all about trust. It's about doing, you said you're going to do it, go do it. And what's the outcome? What's the result? And we learn from it. And it's all focused on really serving our industry. And I think being led by someone like Michelle has really empowered me to be comfortable with who I am as I serve our industry, because oftentimes I never felt that. And I really honor that, because it's nice to know that. And I say that for myself, but I know that as our team, it's really cool. And we're like, no, we're out here, we're serving, we're making things happen. And we know that we have her full support, which really does allow us to feel successful in our roles. So I appreciate who you are. And I'm excited we're doing this one together for sure.
Me too. I think that we should give you a little bit of time to introduce yourself as well, Josh.
Oh, I love it. So Josh Hannaberry, to start, I'm a super proud dad and husband. I think that I say that up front because it really defines my way of thinking. I really do value my family's perspective and opinion of me. And when I'm navigating through many conversations, it's something that I think it kind of helps me stay centered in just kind of my walk. So I like to hit that up front. But as our senior advisor, member solutions on the member services team, identify as a huge industry advocate. And I'm super focused, and our team is super focused on really understanding, okay, what are the pain points of our industry, regardless of size. If you're a single owner operator, if you're a smaller fleet, or if you're really large, you're a mega carrier, what's that pain point? And then how can AMTA provide value to you and your organization, either directly or indirectly with our partners? So that's a little bit about me, and really, a heart of servanthood for sure.
Awesome.
So I appreciate that opportunity too. So kind of before we dive too deep into our conversation too, can you give our listeners an overview of the Alberta Motor Transport Association and kind of who we are, what we're about?
Yeah, for sure. Most of us, we're known as AMTA. Some people try to call us AMTA. We get the Alberta Motor Transport Association is a little bit of a full mouthful. So we will probably, as we move forward, start referring to us as AMTA. We are a not-for-profit provincial trucking and safety association. We really focus on ensuring that the provincial highways are safe. We want to provide the support to the commercial carriers of Alberta, big, small. We do that through safety programs. We offer the Certificate of Recognition, which is core. We offer training both online, virtual, and in class. We work with partners on industry advancement and technology through our IA side of our worlds. So we do a lot, but our main goal is to provide that support to our industry.
1,000%. Yeah, when I first was introduced to the AMTA, there was a training simulator at a truck expo, and my son Avery was with me, and I remember getting a walkthrough. Like, we were allowing Avery to crash as often as he wanted, and I was like, this is actually like real. Like, this isn't just like, I've heard of virtual reality, I've heard of simulators before, but being in one, seeing that experience, or being through that experience, was really cool. And then attending a meeting. So every month we have different industry engagement meetings, what we call regional meetings, and really being introduced to some phenomenal people in industry and connecting with law enforcement that down the road end up helping, like, the fleet that I work for save some pretty big problems. Just we needed some clarification on legislation, and then working closely with yourself, Michelle, and Cliff Licky, who our listeners will meet at a different episode. But really just, being supported, being cared about, being complimented as we were trying to be just really good in our space was really key. And that kind of gave a foundational understanding of what an association is and who AMTA is. And it's cool now, a couple years later, working here and being really at the forefront of serving people. And we serve in so many different ways, as Michelle just hit, which was super cool, because we don't know necessarily what everyone needs until they tell us. So building trust and building that open relationship, so someone can say, well, this is actually what I'm fighting against. Awesome. We got some support for you. There's no invoice at the end of it in this conversation. We're just really here to help. Like, I think those are some really critical pieces. And I'm excited to really navigate through how we're using the podcast to just showcase that and help more people too.
Yeah. And I always say I want our industry to call us instead of Googling their question. We have a full team of subject matter experts that the industry can lean on. The relationships that we have formed with government, with law enforcement, with the supplier side of our industry, all ties in to allow us to really build out this massive network that can really, when used properly, allow the opportunity for massive growth within our industry, and all while doing it substantially safer and really ensuring that those relationships are formed, that the trust is there, that we can rely on each other as we literally navigate our highways on a day-to-day basis.
Totally. Oh, I love it. And it's cool. Just, I can nerd out in this space for a long time, but
Us
very,
too.
very cool.
I agree.
So knowing that today is episode 1, we are officially launching the Steering Change podcast. Can you kind of walk us? None. And if anyone has any judgment, send it my way. And no, I'm just kidding. But what's the main driving force for the podcast as we ramp up and we're launching?
Yeah, over the last few years, we've really looked at different approaches to ensure that we are trying to hear our industry, trying to reach our industry. Our industry is busy. It is a 24/7 operation. They are in the field. They are working. And the majority of who AMTA represents are carriers with smaller outfits. The owner-operators to the 10 truck, 10, 20 truck employers. So we really needed to look at the approach of trying to get to you instead of you coming to us. And the podcast allows that. It allows us to meet the people where they're at. It could be in the truck, could be in the office, it could be in a shop bay, it could be an evening while they are resting their head at a truck stop. So we really wanted to start looking at this approach in a different way. And this to us was kind of a no-brainer.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I think one of the most powerful things about podcasting is you're bringing truth to people. You're bringing, like, we have some super, super, super smart people lined up to join us on future episodes. And it's on topics where I'm in many trucking groups on Facebook, and some of the questions and some of the answers that you see are kind of like, great question. I don't know about the answer.
Google.
Yeah, right. Like, it's awesome when we know that this is an interesting question. Here is the truthful answer. Here's accurate guidance so you can be successful in your place of work. And I love the fact that knowing that a lot of these questions, say we're talking about hours of service, or we're talking about future technologies, it's not a myth. It's not, well, I think someone told me once, it's no, you're hearing it directly and it's where you're at. So I think, there's some serious power there for sure. And I'm also excited to hear back. I'm excited to see what questions come to us when people are like, hey, this was spoken about. Can you elaborate on, or I've never navigated in this province before. What should I do? That kind of stuff. So, but I think it's a really exciting opportunity for sure. So when we think about goals, and
Mhm.
again, we have a big goal or goals of the podcast, can you kind of give us an overview of what's the overarching goal when we're doing the Steering Change podcast?
I continue to say it, and I've said it multiple times over my 9 years at AMTA. We need to get that reach out there. Our province is huge, and there's only so many man hours of the day. There's only, so much staff to go around. And this is the opportunity to reach our industry. And it can go above and outside of the borders. It can go anywhere. And that is exciting. We have great relationships with the other provincial trucking associations. We've built a lot of partnerships that go outside of our borders. And this just allows another avenue in which we can really target that reach to our industry.
Totally agreed. So when we're thinking about reach and we're thinking about the types of people, the types of operations, obviously navigating in our province and beyond, what can our listeners then expect? So when we're thinking about topics or we're planning, like I said, some really smart people are going to be joining us to giving some very accurate information. Is there like an overview you can provide then on, is it like general topics? Is it just one subject matter expert, or what's kind of the game plan?
Absolutely. In trucking, it changes daily. So I think that's something that this also can bring value to. As the topics kind of change in our industry, we can be relevant and real time. I think a lot of things that we're going to be focused on are those subject matter expert opportunities, guidance in the transportation industry, information about AMTA and how they can get involved. We have so many different ways in which the drivers can get involved, all the way up to the owners, the safety people, the dispatch folks, the mechanics. There's just so many different opportunities that we can showcase on how AMTA can bring value and support to your organization. I think industry professionals, drivers, safety, kind of those topics that I just touched on. We really want to be able to have this an open space. The transportation industry touches all industries, which allows the opportunity for us to dive deep, dependent on kind of what the topic. I know, hours of service, ELDs, those were some hot topics over the course. Professional drivers, driver shortages. We could literally talk for days about the different topics, but we want to hear from you guys as well. We want to hear from our listeners. We want to ensure that this is a two-way conversation, that it's not just us talking to you guys. We want to hear from you. So we really want to make sure that you guys reach out to us, ask your questions. Social media is a really good platform for that. We are on all platforms. So that is kind of just a tidbit of some of the topics that we could be touching on in the coming episodes.
I love it. Yeah, and when I think about relevance, like in real time, because things change, as we know, our industry changes all the time. And I think having that as one of the forefront understandings is that we will pivot as industry pivots. And I think one of the things that we're really fortunate about is we hear of stuff that will change before our industry does. And we're at those tables having those conversations. So sometimes preparation is key. Our industry is so reactive, but when we can be proactive and using the podcast to help industry be proactive, because one of the changes that just happened is dangerous goods regulation. And we've been at that conversation table for a very long time, and we've already had 2 meetings on what the changes are. So it's cool that we can be that, but I'm glad you hit relevant and in real time, because our industry is so broad, which is the second point that I'm glad you hit, is we touch every part. Like industry, like transportation, it literally hits every part of our economy. It doesn't matter what it is. And we have a good friend that I won't name drop quite, but she works for an awesome carrier. She's super involved with us here in Calgary, and she's like, literally, if we didn't have truck drivers, we'd be naked.
Yep.
Like to be really frank, maybe that's a blunt term, but it's true. So when we start really digging and using different subject matter experts to talk on, okay, so you're a dry cleaning business and you're transporting people's clothes from British Columbia to Alberta. Well, there's a bunch of rule sets that you need to follow, even though you don't identify necessarily as a trucking company. There's still things there. Or I love industry advancement. I love knowing that we're helping move the needle forward. And I know that there's a lot of I self-identify as a nerd, so I'll use that term loosely, as like industry nerds. People are really excited about the changes that are coming, and we have some phenomenal people that work with us that also I'm excited just for them to share if it's alternative fuels to technologies that are allowing companies to go paperless, all this different type of stuff. But it's a cool topic. So anyway, I won't nerd out too hard on that right now. But
there's just so much happening, right, in our industry as a whole. It is changing so rapidly. And I think one thing that AMTA has done very well is building those relationships with those partners so that we can be at the table. We can, and that's where the voice of our listeners needs to be heard as well. We're not the experts on what's happening day to day in our industry. Our industry is. They need to come to us so that we can provide that information to the technology companies that are saying, hey, let's do this, this, and this. Or why is the paperless the way to go? Why is cameras in cabs a conversation? Why, right? So really being able to consolidate the opinions of our industry to help everybody as a whole.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think it's just exciting. Like a large part of my life when I'm engaging with industry is literally all shapes and sizes. And to know that, like, one of my favorite success stories was a gentleman, super great guy. I'm doing some aggregate hauling, and he really wanted to expand his business. And part of the approach you have to take when you're expanding a business is you need to know where you're going, but you also need to know, okay, how do I get there? Like, what's the right way to do business? And hitting topics like that, I think, will be really exciting. Is I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in this space. I have 4 trucks and I want to get to 8. What do I do? And
all AMTA.
Exactly, right. And just it's super exciting. And I'm excited for us to introduce different people. Like we have our workplace support services team that they're just a phenomenal group of guys, gentlemen, because right now there's 3 males on that team that are really focused on helping our industry overcome a lot of hurdles and accomplish goals in very different ways. And then we have our fantastic leader in our compliance regulatory affairs, where he's literally at the table. Like the guy works too much sometimes, where we have to like kind of giggle about it, but it's like we have this knowledge and we're going to bring it right to you, right where you're at. I think it's just a really exciting opportunity, as well as for our industry and our listeners to say, I have this specific question. Can you answer it? And some of that's going to be answered obviously on the platform. Some of it's just going to be answered directly, depending, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions. But again, I think that's really exciting for sure.
And I think one thing our listeners need to know is that the team that is there, that AMTA has built over the years, the passion for our industry. Like I can hear it in your voice constantly, but the full team is full of passion. They are here because they want to make a difference. They are here because they want everybody to go home safe every night. They want their highways to be safe. They want people to be successful in our industry and hear these, success stories of showcasing the professionalism of transportation to the rest of the world.
Yeah, totally. And then it's cool, the professionalism. So we have a program at the association. It's called Driver of the Month program. And it is really focused on celebrating professional drivers that have gone well above and beyond from a professional stance, as well as a safety stance for their career. And I know that down the road, one of our goals is to have our winners of Driver of the Month hop on the platform and really share, like, what is their life like being a professional driver? And we want some guidance, we want some tidbits, we want some encouragement of just what can others do to be a safe professional driver, but to really enjoy the profession. What are the successes that others can experience, as well as hopefully get nominated for the Driver of the Month program. I think, there's some really cool navigation that we're going to do in that space too.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's something that's just, one of the ways in which we really try to showcase our industry. And the drivers take such pride in what they do, and to recognize that by providing not only the employer with the Driver of the Month award, but the driver. The employers also spend a significant amount of time ensuring that they showcase their drivers to industry as well. So it's the warm and fuzzy of our industry, and it's a lot of it is not what the public sees. So anytime AMTA can take that opportunity, we definitely do it.
Totally agreed. So we obviously hit on a few things that we're going to be talking about when
Yeah.
we're thinking about episodes getting released. What's the frequency that we're setting so that way they know, okay, is it once a month, every couple of weeks? What's the frequency of episodes going to get dropped?
We're aiming to get this one out ahead of Christmas to kind of, showcase us, set the stage, and going into 2024, be patient with us as we navigate through this. But I think if we could aim to get a couple out a month is kind of our focus. And then as we grow our platform and we start getting weight, like it's the engagement, we need that engagement. We could be doing an episode a week. I said earlier, we don't have a short list of things to talk about. So that is kind of our end goal, would probably be a weekly episode, hopefully by the end of 2024.
Totally support it. I'm ready to rock and roll. I think the amount of things that we will talk about of importance that are impacting business in a positive way and lives in a positive way is really exciting. And yeah, I'm excited to see just the requests come in. So that way, yeah, the frequency will continue to increase. But again, I'm excited for this one to get dropped too. I think it's really key. So one of a really important question is, so for our listeners that are maybe sharing this episode out or that are checking us out, where's the best place that people can go to if it's downloading the episode or listening to it just streaming on their computer, on their phone?
We are working our way through the approval processes. I am learning the space as we speak. The one place that you can always guarantee to find us will be on our website, amta.ca, and that's where everything is kept up to date and current as well. So if you want to visit our website to kind of dive deeper into what AMTA is and what we have to offer, I would strongly encourage it.
Love it. Yeah, and any link that we ever mention in the episode is in our show notes. So our website link is there. And yeah, there's so many podcast players out there. That's why it takes a little bit of time for the approvals to go through, but it's a fun learning curve. So appreciate that. But before we end today, I always like to give an opportunity for, again, I set the stage when we first started, how much respect I have for Michelle, but really talking about what people can expect in 2024, what you're excited for, just anything like that. Is there any final words that you'd like to share before we end?
Yeah, 2023 was a year for us to get out and really start, engaging with our industry. COVID closed all those doors for us. And going into 2024, the goal is growth. The goal is extending that reach and really spending time listening to what our members have. Every trucking company in the province of Alberta is a member of AMTA. And with that comes the opportunity to engage, comes the opportunity to take advantage of the offerings that AMTA has and really allow that relationship to be built with the member services team, with all the teams at AMTA. And I'm really excited for what we're going to look like a year from now and what relationships are going to be able to be formed and the change that we're going to have on our industry. I'm excited. And, if we can do one thing right is to make our highways safer. I really want to ensure, this is what I got into this industry for, was to ensure that what we're doing is ensuring that people go home safe every night. And that includes the public, that includes our drivers, as well as showcasing the professionalism of our industry.
It's amazing. We really appreciate that. And yeah,
Exciting.
I agree, it is. And we share that passion of road safety and just ensuring that we all go home alive. No load is worth a life. And I don't care if that's over the highway. I don't care if that's down the street. Like, there's so many moving parts in our industry. And yeah, I'm really aligned with that for sure, Michelle. So if anyone had questions for you specifically or any of the team at the association, is there the best email that they should go to just if they have a question for support?
Yeah, I would encourage them to visit our website, amta.ca. It allows them to kind of dive deep into who they're looking for and then direct contact information for everybody on the team.
Love it. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Josh.
All right. So as we come to an end, Michelle, thank you so much just for being an incredible co-host as we kicked off the first official podcast episode for the Steering Change podcast. I know that I'm extremely excited for the journey ahead, and I believe that our community of listeners, they're going to receive a ton of value from each episode. So I really do honor that and I appreciate that. All right, Steering Change podcast community. Did you have a question that you would like answered on an upcoming episode of the Steering Change podcast? We really want to hear from you. So to submit us a question, go to for the Steering Change Mailbag, hit up our DMs on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram with the hashtag Steering Change. And your question is going to be answered either live on an upcoming podcast episode or one of our subject matter experts here at the association. They're going to reach out to you and make sure that you get the right answer. I also ask that you share this episode with those in your network that you believe could benefit from what me and Michelle talked about today, as well as for upcoming episodes. And also make sure that you do subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast player. That's really important because we have a lot of really good information coming up. You can also learn more about us and our mission by visiting www.amta.ca. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope you have a safe day.
Thank you for listening to AMTA's Steering Change podcast. If you have questions or comments, please reach out to us on social media or visit amta.ca.